Mr. Pancakes.
Yes,
Let's
sir.
talk about Agatha All Along. We are at what now? The sixth episode?
Seventh. We're in the home stretch.
Oh, it's seventh episode. So in the seventh episode, there's 9 episodes left, and I believe next week it's a double header. I think 8 and 9 are both at the same time, if I'm not mistaken.
I gotta check that, but this show 1 week after another, and you are right. It is gonna be a double finale.
Yeah, double finale. Yeah.
But what a ride it has been so far. Week after week, the show has delivered. Now, major disclaimer: we're gonna talking major spoilers of what's been happening on the show so far. So pause, go watch the episodes, and then come back and resume this video because we're gonna get into it heavy. So I don't get yelled at for spoilers like I have in the past. But here we go.
I'm so glad you said it because I was going to say it too. But all right, well, since we mentioned that already, so tell us, Mr. Pancakes, what do you think of the series so far?
Very, very good. This has been a great spin-off or successor to WandaVision. It's a great continuation with a lot of characters. Scarlet Witch has been mentioned multiple times. It's been so enjoyable. My favorite episode I think has been the best episode. You disagree with me on this? You still say it was good? Darkest Hour, Wake Thy Power, because we got the big reveal of the series of who Teen is.
Okay, all right. Yeah, I'm not saying it's a bad episode. I like the episode. The following episode, I believe, which is the one that came out this week.
Or this last week, the one after that, familiar. Where they explain Teen's backstory in the flashbacks.
Right, that's the one that you think is one of the best.
The one where we find out Teen's real identity, which is the 5th episode, and then going into the 6th, which is called Familiar by Thy Side, we get the flashback, his origin story in a way.
Right. Okay. Look, I don't want to say I have a favorite episode yet.
Right.
I think I'm going to save that for the finale. But as of now, I don't have a favorite episode, but I will tell you this: every single time I do watch the show, I'm like, oh, this is getting good, and this is getting better and better and better. And Marvel, take note. Star Wars, take note. This is how you write a show, as opposed to all the other shows that you guys have bombed on. But yeah, this show makes you feel like, hey, I want to know what happens on the next episode. I want to know what happens to this character, the other character, or what happens in this situation, that situation. What are we gonna find down the Riches Road? Who's going to die? Who's going to live? Who's going to turn into a pumpkin at the end at midnight? Who knows? But yeah.
So usually a person that's against characters' deaths, like, oh, I understand they do it to move along a story, but this show has made sense of it to continue the story, and it hasn't shied away. First it was Mrs. Hart, unfortunately,
Right.
and then two of the witches we have lost along the way.
Yeah.
I was
Alice, right?
Alice and
Lillian.
and Patty LuPoe's character.
Right.
She one thing I have to, I know I'm bouncing all over the place. Each episode has given each person a chance to shine, not just Katrin Hahn, who's the lead, of course. But
well, I mean, it is the Witches' Road,
right?
So we need to find out. We need to know what's happening to all the witches. So a backstory, even brief, is better than nothing.
But let me tell you something. Patty LuPoe, who's a legend in the world of Broadway and plays, musicals, the 7th episode, which is the most up-to-date episode at the time of recording, she killed it. Like, her performance was unbelievable, and she has her power with her mind.
Right, that's her origin story episode. Yeah.
Yeah, her origin story. She's bouncing around between timelines. Sorry, Johnny.
Well, let's explain that a little bit, right?
Yeah.
So when Pancake says that she's jumping between timelines, it's more along the line of
periods of her life.
Yes, periods of her life. So we'll see her at one point. We'll see her when she's, let's say, I don't know, 10 years old. and her 60-year-old self or 50-year-old self, whatever she is, would show up at that point and be talking, and then it would just magically disappear, and then she'll go back to normal again. So because she's like, what is it, a clairvoyant, right? She's able to see people's futures and everything. She sort of kind of like bounces in between her own self back and forth through time. So not really time travel, more like a time jump, if you would say.
Yeah, but the big reveal, and this is where the spoilers come in. The reveal of Teen's character is technically one person, but under two different names.
Correct.
We had William Kaplan, and then he was the part Billy Maximoff.
Maximoff, yeah, you said it right.
The one of the twin sons of the Scarlet Witch. Like at the end of that 5th episode, when we have the big reveal, and she goes, "You're just like your mother," and then you see the similar crown appear, how the way he moves his fingers, and then go to the 6th episode where William Kaplan technically dies in that car accident after his bar mitzvah.
Well, okay, let's rewind a little bit.
Okay.
Right? Let's rewind a little bit to the point where we're going somewhat in the real time, right? In the timeline, right? So basically what's happened is, like our last episode where we talked about Agatha, when we actually watched it live and we spoke about it. Since then, we've got Agatha, who she got the whole coven. She got them all into the Witch's Road. We all know that. That happened in the first 2 episodes. And then after that, we had what? Every single episode has been a test in each witch's, not job, but what would you say? What would you call it? Like
specialty?
Specialty. There you go. So in each specialty of a witch, they would sit there and be like, okay, well, you're good at this. We'll figure out what to do in this house,
right?
In this problem that we have. So in one episode, we lose Alice, right?
Yeah.
Alice, she passes away. Before that, actually, we lost Miss Hart, but that was in episode 2, right?
Yeah.
So we lost Miss Hart. In the next episode, what is her name? Ria? No,
Rio the Green
Rio.
Witch.
Rio shows up in episode 3 as or is it episode 4 that she shows up as a witch to take place for Mrs. Hart.
Yeah.
Right. And
Poor
then
Sharon.
Yeah. And then she magically disappears 2 episodes later. I don't know. We haven't seen her for a while, but
with the way Alice died, it shows Miss Hartnett's true colors hasn't really changed. She's still very much that villain that she established in WandaVision, and her own mother, she saw how evil she was, and it was established throughout time. She was a part of certain events. She's essentially a serial killer.
Technically, yes.
And the way she took, Alice was trying to heal her and save her, but she stole her powers.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when Billy went off on her, to save her.
Well, that's when Billy got his powers, right?
Yeah.
Or not, he got his powers, but he showed everyone that he had power. Like
so,
his mother.
So going back to him, so the body that his soul took over William Kaplan's body during the events of WandaVision.
Correct. So what Pancakes is trying to say is that right before, it's a really like a time jump almost.
Yeah.
So at the same time that in WandaVision, when Billy loses his life, right, his soul jumps into William
Kaplan's
body when they got into a car accident with his family.
So like when he woke up and he yells, "Tommy,"
right.
So the ultimate goal for him to be on the witch's roll is to find his long lost brother. But what's, we'll probably get the answer to this by the time the show ends next week, is how is his soul able to survive, the Westview incident, because he was he was he was a part of Wanda's breakdown to create this fake world to create her kids, and the soul, quote unquote, of her dead son took on a body outside the Red Dome, outside of Westview. So it was interesting how it took over a nearby vessel, so to speak.
I get what you're saying, and my theory is, and because it's been mentioned in the show already,
Right.
Mephisto.
Yes.
I feel like somehow Mephisto created these souls for Wanda, these two souls that he created
Right.
for Wanda to have as their children. Because, you know, you would think that because she's got the power of the Darkhold, right? I mean, somebody put the Darkhold on this earth. Who's to say it's not Mephisto? And because of that,
so you think he's actually in play here, not just a quick mention as like a smile and nod to the audience, because everybody's been speculating about him since the WandaVision series.
Right. Well, here's the thing. There have been rumors that they're almost 100% positive that on this show we will get Mephisto. Or actually, not on this show, but Marvel has casted a Mephisto, and it's none other than Sacha Baron Cohen.
Just that was a rumor we heard.
Right, but I'm going with it, though. I believe that's going to happen, and I believe that we will get Mephisto by the end of the series.
There was a name drop, and I was like, whoa, but it hasn't been mentioned since. But a name that's been mentioned multiple times is her long-lost son, Nicholas Scratch.
Right.
And who works for him, at least in the comic origin. So are we going to see that appear in the 2-episode finale? And are the witches who are hunting them working for Nicholas Scratch and Mephisto?
Hey, man, these are very good questions, and I think we could possibly answer them, but we don't know if we're right or wrong. You know what I mean?
But it's fun fan theories.
Exactly, and this is what makes it awesome. This is why I keep saying watching an episode every single week, it's something for you to talk about, to say, I wonder what's going to happen next week.
Well, actually, or the villain, which was revealed in this week's episode, that Rio, the Green Witch, is really dead.
Which, yes. But
and she has a relationship past with Agatha.
Right.
Destroy our words.
Yes, Agatha. Here's the thing, though. It would be hysterical if, in passing, Rio does say, "Well, you know, I was with Agatha, but there's also this, you know, purple space guy who is also in love with me, but he's dead now, so it's okay." Meaning Thanos. That would have been hysterical.
Of course.
Or even if she mentions Deadpool, that would be even funnier. But anyway, the fact, I think the issue is, I think most people knew that she was going to play Death, and it wasn't anything new per se.
Yeah.
But, you know, when you're watching the show, you're like, oh wow, they admitted that she's Death. But you sort of kind of felt it watching the TV show. You're like, she's probably Death. Because if you think about it, like, she's got green energy, right? Who else had green energy? Hela. And she was the queen of the dead, right? She was able to bring back the soldiers back to life, and, you know, they had green energy. So it seems like the people that control Death in the MCU like to use green energy. At least that's what I've noticed.
It's going to be a fun finale, and this show, you know, initially you thought it'd be lighthearted, you know, had the singing of the song, but it had very much had its dark moments. Like I mentioned with my favorite episode, which I consider the best, with the 5th, it hasn't shied away from death and killing of characters, and her sacrificing her own son. You realize how silent she goes, and her mind, and she goes to that dark place, thinking of the loss of her son, and beloved characters are dying off one by one. My theory is they'll survive and they'll reappear.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that they're still alive.
Yeah, because they're not in, quote unquote, the real world.
Right, and we don't know where the witch's world is, right? It could be they could have died in the, you know, like let's just say like the witch's road is like an astral plane.
Yeah,
and they died there. But who knows? If they died there, their bodies might have no soul, so they might be dead too.
I like that. the show is paid tribute to witchcraft of the past and
Yes.
nods here and there and time errors. Like she was, the Wicked Witch of the West, and she drops a line. She was inspired by me. And Billy was dressed up as
Maleficent.
Yeah, I'm like, holy.
And the funny part is when he says, well, if you got these cheekbones, because, if you watch Maleficent,
Angelina Jolie.
Angelina Jolie's got the cheek. And anyway, all right, passing joke. I guess not everybody gets it. But yeah, so there's one thing I have an issue with about this show.
What's that?
And it's not really the show. It's more along the lines of the fan base. So what I'm kind of pissed off about is the fact that people are comparing it to The Penguin.
You can't compare both of them.
You can't. One is a drama. The other one is a comedy series, right? You
one is fantasy. One is about a crime family.
Exactly. So guys, you can't sit there and say, well, The Penguin's better than Agatha. They're two different genres. That's like comparing and saying apples and bananas. Yes, they're both fruits, but you can't compare both of them because they're two totally different types of fruit.
I don't get that. I have no comment.
I don't get it either. But other than that, I will say this. The other thing that kind of annoys me, and it's not something huge, but it kind of does, is the fact that these episodes, it's like 1 minute we have a 20-minute episode, next minute we have a 40-minute episode, another minute we got a 30-minute episode, like that.
Well, that's been one of the big criticisms of all the MCU Disney Plus shows.
Yeah, but the thing is, though, with all these MCU shows, they were like standard, like 30 minutes. This one goes a few minutes more, a few minutes less, and it's kind of annoying. But I will say this. Watching Agatha, I don't realize that they're short episodes.
It doesn't bother me.
So much is happening.
Yeah, so much is happening, and it just captures my attention.
Right.
And it's hard for me, even with the 7 episodes that have aired so far, to pick out what's quote unquote the worst episode because they've been so damn good. And shout out to Jock Schaefer, who was behind WandaVision and then created this show because rightfully so, it's the continuation of that story. She's done an amazing job launching the show and bringing it to life, that what we've seen so far. So it's going to be an exciting finale for episode 89. So
I totally agree with you. So the question goes out to you guys. What do you guys think? Do you think this show is at least as good as WandaVision? And let us know your theories in the comment section down below.